Or let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. If you'll please stand and join me in the pledges. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. You'll remain standing. Tonight, we are honored to have Pastor Bernie Jackson of Trinity Zion Ministries to offer our opening prayer. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. Let us pray. Father, as we come before you tonight, on this first day for the kids of a new school year, we come, Lord God, asking that you would provide, protect all that are involved and touch the lives of our children, God, so that they will have a safe environment this year to learn about themselves, about each other, and the things that they will need and tools that they will use the remainder of their lives. We ask you, God, that communication would work from their homes all the way up to this board, Lord God, that we would all be on the same page, listening to one another, having clarity, using integrity, Lord God, to benefit this school district. Father, we thank you for all the growth. We thank you for all of those, God, who have volunteered on this board to serve this district, this community. We ask a special dispensation of blessings upon them. All of those, God, that will benefit, provide, and take care of our children, Lord God. We ask you to bless them in a rich way. And then, God, this year we're going to ask a special blessing that you would enter into the classrooms, Lord God. Please, Father, provide safety. Give them an environment, Lord God, of joy and the peace of learning and being individuals. Help them, God, to come from homes that have taught them to respect themselves and to respect others. Bless our teachers, God, who have determined and decided that working with children with their life's calling. Strengthen them, Lord God. And then, Father, let all of us in the community just build a circle around them, Lord God, and include the provision and the protection that you're giving us. Help us to work together this year, Lord God. Let your glory be known, Father, in the way that we communicate with one another for the children and for the educational environment that you've so graciously provided for them. God, we thank you for Jesus, and it's in his name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Dr. Lee, will you introduce our student speaker on character education trait for August, which is respect?
Absolutely, and if he will make his way to the podium while I'm talking, that would be great. We have Noah Taywater. He is an incoming 8th grader at Riverside Middle School, and I understand stays quite busy on and off the court. He's a member of the basketball team and plays percussion in the band, hopefully not at the same time. That sounds dangerous. He also develops his musical talents at the Bastrop Academy of Music, where he studies drums. Noah's dedication to athletics and music showcases his versatility, creativity, and commitment to growing his skills. So, Noah, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Respect is one of the most important traits we can have because it affects the way we treat others every single day. Respect isn't just about saying yes, sir, or yes, ma'am. It's about listening, showing kindness, and treating everyone with dignity. As a basketball player, I've learned that respect is what makes a team successful. You have to respect your coaches by listening to their instructions, respect your teammates by encouraging them, even after mistakes, and respect your opponents by playing fair and showing good sportsmanship. A team that respects each other will always be stronger than a team full of talented players who don't work together. I've also learned about respect through percussion. Every musician has an important role. If one person plays too loudly, too early, or doesn't pay attention to the conductor, it affects the entire performance. Respect means listening carefully, waiting for the right moment, and trusting everyone to do their part. Respect also matters in our classrooms and hallways. When we respect our teachers, they can spend more time teaching instead of correcting behavior. When we respect our classmates, everyone feels safer, more included, and more confident to learn. Respect doesn't cost anything, but it can change someone's entire day. So if we all choose to start the school year by showing respect in sports, music, and in school, we can create a stronger, kinder community for everyone. Thank you for your time, and I hope you all have a great school year.
Awesome, Noah. We do have a gift Ms. Thomas is going to bring to you, but before you leave the podium, would you please introduce your family who you brought with you tonight?
Today I have my mom. Her name is Emily Taywater. I have my little sister, Harper Taywater, and then I have my dad, Chris Taywater.
Would you guys stand up? Oh, nice. Thank you very much, Noah. We hope you have a great school year, too.
Video.
Oh, we have a little treat for you guys celebrating the first day of school. And I hope that we will get a report shortly that the last child has been dropped off at home off of the bus. So we're still waiting on that all clear, but it was a fantastic first day, and thank you to our communications staff, talented photographers who captured all of those beautiful faces today.
Next on our agenda is our open forum. The board welcomes comments from district citizens and employees. Individuals or group representatives who have signed up may speak, focusing on public education topics. Please note that the board cannot discuss or act on issues not listed on the agenda and ask that all attendees be respectful of other speakers and presenters. The board will not allow the use of any derogatory comments toward any individual staff members, teachers, and board members. The purpose of an open forum is to gather input only. Agenda-related issues will be addressed at the appropriate time. The board's complaint policies aim for prompt, fair resolution at the lowest administrative level. Student or parent complaints are addressed under policies F&G legal or F&B local, and speakers will be heard in the order of their request. Open forum is limited to 30 minutes, with each of the 6 speakers allotted 3 minutes, and Ms. Kathy will be keeping our time for each of those. First on the list is Ernest, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce it. Is it Rium? Thank you, sir. Welcome.
All right. I'm a retired veteran. I'm trying to get in every junior high and high school in America. The first school was established in 1635 in Massachusetts. That's 391 years ago. All we're doing for 391 years is sending our kids to elementary, junior high, high school, and put them in society. We're not getting to the heart and soul of the problem. If you guys want to know what the heart and soul of the problem is, everybody put your fist up, please. And go like this. The heart and soul is every boy and every girl in America. My presentation will get them to understand their past, accept their past, forgive their past, and make a change. Not everybody has a bad past. But I promise you 1,000,000%, because every time you take a step forward in life, one or two things can happen. You get confronted by negative or positive. Let me start with the gateway kids, kids that are already having problems. Let me show you how I can turn their life around. Then I'll do one junior high and high school in Bastrop, absolutely free. I just want every teacher, coach, counselor, vice principal, principal, superintendent to be in every presentation. Society teaches us if there's 1,000 kids in the auditorium, if I come in and help 4 kids, out of 1,000, I've done my job. This is what I tell the kids. I'm here for the kids. I'm like, you guys, I'm glad in my heart, my soul, my liver, my lungs. I got to relate to the kids. The kids got to know that I'm here for them. What about their 996 people? Did I really do my job? No, I didn't. The last time I gave it was before the coronavirus at Daly Middle School, 300-something sixth graders. When I got done with it, I said, you guys, if you had fun, if you learned 3 or 4 or 5 things in this presentation, I want you to stand up, scream, and holler. 300-something sixth graders cafeteria. That whole cafeteria went crazy. I couldn't even count the kids. There was 30, 40, 50, 60 kids coming up, giving me knuckles, telling me how much they learned from me. We have got to turn our kids' life around. The schools need to be a place where the kids can come and talk to somebody if something's happening to them at home and stuff. I mean, let me start with the gateway kids. I promise you, I will turn their life around. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Lucy Dias.
Good evening. My name is Lucy, and I live near the proposed Pacifico Power Plant and Data Center. Pacifico is proposing a 710 megawatt gas-fired power plant to support a data center on 2,842 acres of farmland. For the past 3 weeks, I've essentially become a full-time investigator. I've researched, read permits, contacted local politicians, presented at meetings, read abatement policies, jetty applications, TCEQ documents, contacted commissioners, learned school finance information, and I've worked with other concerned parents and neighbors to combine our knowledge, resources, skills, and connections, because we are stronger when we work together than when we try to fight these battles alone. I am here tonight as a parent of 2 little boys. I don't just see a $2.2 billion investment, I see a 710 megawatt natural gas plant, and I fear for the impact this will have on not only my children, but all of our children, because children are the most vulnerable to air pollution. And Pacifico isn't the only project we need to be concerned about. MPH Peakers is proposing 6 additional natural gas turbines at the existing Bastrop Energy Center. TCEQ's proposed permit allows MPH Peakers to produce hundreds and hundreds of tons of nitrogen oxide per year, carbon monoxide, and sulfur dioxide. Last month, BISD broke ground on the Silverleaf Elementary School, which will be approximately 1 mile from MPH Peakers. There are over 20 schools, daycares, child care facilities within 3 miles of these projects. I understand you don't control whether Pacifico gets built. I understand you don't control whether MPH Peakers gets built, but you do control whether BISD will financially support these projects. That's what you're being asked to do with the jetty agreement. Both Pacifico and MPH Peakers have indicated that economic incentives are important to the feasibility of their projects, but it is not BISD's responsibility to make a private development financially competitive with other sites across the country. I know you all care deeply about the children in our county. That is very clear. I know you would never put a price on a child's health, so I ask you, can any financial benefit from this project justify accepting potential health risks for the very children this district is entrusted to protect? As a parent, I would go to the ends of the earth to protect my kids. I am asking you to do the same. When the time comes in the next few weeks, please vote no on the Pacifico Jetty and please vote no on MPH Peakers. Thank you.
Next on our list is Brian Steele.
Mr. Steele, hold on.
Sorry?
Getting the clock reset.
Good evening. My name is Brian Steele. I'm a Cedar Creek resident, father, husband, homeowner, taxpayer, and small business owner. I'm asking Bastrop ISD to reject Pacifico's proposed tax abatements when they come to your board. As for why, I'll start with something more important than taxes: the air our children breathe. Pacifico is proposing a 710 megawatt gas power plant in Cedar Creek, as Lucy mentioned. According to the project impact map, 3 schools and 854 homes are within 1 mile of the proposed site. Within 3 miles, there are 14 schools, 18 churches, and 5,701 homes and ranches. This is where our children live, learn, play, and breathe. Pacifico's GW Ranch project in Pecos County received the largest air pollution permit in the entire country, authorizing more than 12,000 tons per year of regulated air pollutants and as much as 33 million tons per year of greenhouse gases. Scaled to the size of the proposed Cedar Creek plant, that could mean nearly 2,000 tons of conventional air pollutants per year, roughly 4.7 tons every single day, within a mile of 3 schools and more than 850 homes. The EPA tells us children are particularly vulnerable to air pollution because their lungs and organs are still developing. Air pollution associated with fossil fuel combustion is linked to asthma attacks, respiratory illnesses, decreased lung function, cardiovascular harm, missed school days, and premature death. And here's where the tax incentives matter. You would be using our children's tax dollars to subsidize a project that will put thousands of pounds of additional pollution into the air they breathe every day. Why would a school district financially incentivize that? And what does our community get in return? A mere 25 permanent jobs, according to Pacifico's filing. And who's to say those will even be local hires? According to Texas Comptroller Jetty application J0049, this is a $2.2 billion power project with an estimated $144 million in requested property tax relief over 10 years. That's roughly $5.8 million in tax relief for every permanent job. Your responsibility is to protect our children's future, not subsidize a corporation that will put their health at risk. Our children should not be the price we pay for Pacifico's profits. Pacifico said in their filing that without these tax abatements, they would most likely move this project to Ohio. So you have a unique opportunity to stop this reckless project in its tracks. When this proposal is up for review, every single member of this board should vote no on tax abatements for the Pacifico project. The time has come to stand against corporate greed and to protect our schools, our community, and be the heroes our children deserve. Thank you.
Next is Alicia Steele.
Hello, my name is Alexia Steele. Have you ever been asked to put a price on a life? Have you ever been asked what a child's health is worth? Have you ever been asked how much money public safety risk is acceptable? Because those are the questions you'll face when Moat Casey brings you its financial evaluation on this Jetty application. I don't envy you. I understand you're legally required to review this application, evaluate what it could mean financially for this district. But this decision cannot exist on a spreadsheet. We're talking about 2,800 acres and 25 jobs. That's 1 job for every 112 acres. My small business here employs 3 people on 3 acres, 1 job per 1 acre, and I didn't get any tax breaks. And I created those jobs without polluting my neighbors, threatening their water, creating industrial noise, or putting their safety at risk. And Pacifico isn't the only massive gas power project coming to Cedar Creek. On the other side of our community, an existing plant off Wolf Lane, Hull Street, is proposing another 1,200 megawatts. Between Hull Street and Pacifico, that's roughly 1,900 megawatts of new gas power on top of the plant that is already operating here. Hull Street alone is seeking authorization for roughly 1,600 tons of air pollutants every year. So we're potentially putting these massive projects on opposite sides of Cedar Creek with our children breathing the combined pollution of all of that. But air pollution isn't the only concern. Pacifico would sit next to Bravo's facility for testing munitions and explosive, and they're already doing it. So when Mo Casey puts this financial analysis in front of you, look at the numbers, and then look at us. Because the real questions aren't just financial. What is our safety worth? What is our child's health worth? What is the life worth? For the parents in this community, the answer is simple, right? Priceless. So when it comes time to vote, I hope you can look at this community and tell us there's no dollar amount that makes our children's health and safety expendable. Thank you.
Next is Cameron Allen.
Hi. Thank you to the trustees and to Dr. Lee for the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Cameron Allen. I'm an 8th generation Texan, former educator in K-5 as well as adult education, a current small farmer, husband and father, and proud resident of Cedar Creek. I want to start by saying thank you to the superintendent and to trustee Dr. Mix, who both responded to my emails regarding my worries about the 710 megawatt natural gas power plant that Pacifico Energy intends to build just 1.5 miles away from where my 5th grader lays her head to sleep at night. Some of you may recognize Pacifico as the company that built the largest polluting power plant in the United States in Pecos County, Texas. Just 2 weeks ago, I started trying to understand what the Pacifico development might mean for my family and became increasingly horrified at every turn. I do not have a science background, nor am I a lawyer, and so there was some difficulty wrapping my mind around all the stakeholders, processes, and rapidly developing technology of data centers. I recall the teaching of critical thinking in my 3rd grade classroom. In particular, I've reflected on the tool of prediction in the arsenal when thinking critically. With the data center, it sure seems like a powerful tool, and yet I found myself digging into the technology and its use of water, energy, and space, along with other potential environmental and public health problems. It seems they can be kind of hard to predict, particularly with actors who seem to benefit from the public's lack of knowledge. What is not hard to predict is the effect of a massive natural gas power plant running 24/7, 365 in the vicinity of over 5,000 school-aged children, 22 schools and daycares, and thousands of additional homes, churches, farms, and ranches, all within 3 miles of the Pacifico plant. We know that natural gas power plants emit toxic particulates into the air, the effects of which can travel 25 to 50 miles, encompassing the cities of Bastrop, Smithville, and Elgin. We also have little trouble predicting what those effects will be. Asthma, leading to more missed school days, respiratory illness, infertility and miscarriage, infant death, and various cancers. Another thing that is relatively easy to predict is that you folks will soon face a decision, in all likelihood, a tough legacy-defining decision. It is very likely that the administration will receive and will be voting on a JETI application from Pacifico, which outlines the extent to which they would like to avoid paying taxes to our district. I respect the trustees' inability to speak to the matter today, and I hope to offer additional comment when the board considers the application. All I know is that we cannot allow ourselves to be blindsided when we are all but sure these things are coming down the pike. To be unprepared to face this decision without sufficient information would be, in all due respect, deeply negligent. For the community to not be informed is equally problematic. We need our leadership, be it BISD, Aqua Water, cities in our county, or our county officials, to be transparent and forthcoming with the information that will affect our community for decades to come. I hope to continue this conversation with each of you. I will share what I've learned. I will walk the path to trust by your sides. I will stand by you as you do what you must do to protect every person in BISD and beyond.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Our next speaker is Carrie Kaler.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carrie Kaler. I live at 1408 Wilson Street in Bastrop, and I'm here this evening to just ask a couple questions related to item 2A. So I don't know if you want me to speak now or wait. I think
There will be a public hearing on that
Okay.
matter. You're welcome to speak now
Okay.
during the open forum and give us a
Sure.
heads up now, or you
I'll-
can
I'll
wait until
just
the
give you
public
the-
hearing. We
I'll-
will open up to questions then as well.
Absolutely. I'll just give you a heads up now. I just would like to understand if you're able to speak to what unfunded government mandates you all are having to try to comply with, and budget for that you perhaps didn't foresee last year, or what you're having to grapple with that the state is forcing upon our district?
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Kayla. The next item on our agenda is the public hearing for the presentation and public hearing on the, oh, I'm sorry, I'm skipping forward. Got me all excited, Ms. Kaler. The next one is our mission moment, our strategic partnership, bridging classroom learning and skilled trades. And I would be neglected if I didn't recognize our presenters, Chad Gertz and Stephen Alvis, our BISD CTE department, who I had the pleasure of attending an event with recently, and I hope they're here to talk about that.
Make sure I know how to work the clicker.
They brought guests.
Yes.
Everybody good? Come on in tight.
They're smaller than I am, so we'll let them slide forward.
On behalf of the CTE department for Bastrop ISD, I want to thank the board, President Dillon, Madam Superintendent Dr. Lee. It's our honor to go over tonight's mission moment. This one is near and dear to my heart, being a former CTE teacher in this district for 7 years. We have been on a mission this last year, as Dr. Lee has stated, throughout the district. Us on the CTE side, we were like, what do we have to do to continue on with this mission? So today, what we bring forth to you is a strategic partnership. It's a story that has a great ending with a lot of people, a lot of moving parts that wouldn't happen for a lot of the people in the room here. We're trying to bridge classroom learning and skilled trades. Me and Mr. Alves and Miss Raina Ellis, our director, how do we get kids ready for post-secondary success? What it takes is it takes a community backing us as well. And that's what we'll bring in TCS with Mr. Kimbrough and the wonderful Miss Truitt, who is present tonight. So on that, I will pass it over to my partner, Mr. Alves, and talk you through how this partnership started and ended.
Thank you, Mr. Gertz, and again, members of the board, the community, most importantly, our students. Our focus is very clear on supporting students as we move forward. Really, we want to give you an overview of bridging that gap with professional trades. Our goal is to be able to establish partnerships with our community that align with our actual programs of study within the schools. It is most important that when we look at the CNLA, which is the Community Needs Local Assessment, and we evaluate that, we coordinate with our teachers and our programs to get wonderful students into those programs. And the way we did that was with a paid internship. Students have a lot of options and opportunities as the growth does occur within Bastrop County, and we wanted to be able to identify those students with TCS Mechanical in a strategic partnership with workforce development. As you'll see that it's June 2nd through July 30th. These young men and young ladies started as a group of 40. We then identified them in a strategic effort to have those students interview on campus through the survey. Then they finished their surveys. They were able to interview in person at TCS Mechanical, and were able to be selected so that they ended up with a paid position. And this was a critical requirement, that they had to have transportation ready to go, reliable attendance, just like we expect from a professional standpoint. Part of the college career military readiness is to have students ready. And so when we looked at the framework, we really wanted to make sure that our partnership aligned with what the district vision and mission was, aligned with what the CTE goals are, but most importantly, aligned with the business needs. We could have talked to Ms. Truitt and Mr. Kimbrough and indicated that we have students that are ready to bake cakes, and they would have said that maybe not for us. But what we did was align it with what they were trying to do. We went through the payroll compliance, and I would like to really highlight the fact that the workforce development sets this in motion by understanding we want students to be productive in our communities. And so we were able to get onboarding support with Ms. Barrera with the workforce development. Our students went through the pre-employment just like you would for a full-time career. When we got to that point, we asked the students to make the commitment. And as I mentioned, we started with 40. We narrowed it down to students that take a tour. They took the tour. They were really inspired. Then they went from the tour to a survey. They went from the survey to actually competing in their interviews. At the interview, we stepped out of the space so that the TCS staff could make the best decision for the students and their career goals. When we went through that, they also had a mentorship. These students have partners in the industry that they will be able to reflect back on. They'll have Mr. Gertz, myself, and members of the community to really look towards their success. And when we moved forward with that, we really looked at our post-graduation readiness.
We want students to be able to leave high school with certificates and credentialisms for that entry-level position, and they work towards success. They also have the ability to go through our programs and look around and determine, I want to go to a trade school, a four-year university, an advanced degree, or potentially a union shop. That gives them the ability to then move forward in a professional track. And we feel passionately about this strategic partnership between TCS, Bastrop ISD, and Workforce Solutions. Our students will thrive in this type of environment, similar to the partnerships that we have with other agencies and partners in the Bastrop County area. We moved forward with great explorations. During the summer, while some of our staff members are working on curriculum, we were working on hands-on curriculum. We were taking our students on the internship tours arranged with Ms. Truitt and the team to make sure our students spoke with hands-on, looked at what was happening in industry. We were then able to go to actual fabrication shops and get real-world assembly and say, you know what? That math class actually does tie in. And that was some of the things that we felt like was really important, is not only learning the academics, but the trades. And given with that collaborative effort and our industry partners, our students made the connections, and you'll hear from a couple of them in just a moment. They made the connections so that they can see a future for themselves. And this is the whole purpose of having high-impact visits of the training and the union shops. Our students went to locations and were able to make the connection between the tools that they were using, the trade schools that they had potentially visited, but also understanding that a union shop gives them a direction and a career goal. We have students that are qualified for any college they want, and they have also competed for the opportunity to go into a trade. And with that, I'd like to introduce a couple of them because they went through this whole career program. And they went through that apprenticeship and internship with the view of success is how hard they want to work and the opportunity to engage with Ms. Truitt and Ms. Fabiola Barrera and the team. And with that, I'd like to introduce Mr. Vincent Murphy. He's one of our juniors that will be returning and hopefully competing for this internship again in the spring. Vincent.
Hello, my name is Vincent Murphy. I believe this internship has helped me a lot decide on what my career goal is going to be after high school. During high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I spent most of my junior year bouncing back and forth from welding, software engineering, going to college in Ireland. Like, I didn't have a set path, and I believe this internship helped me figure out where I want to go in the future. And it didn't just make me want to do, sorry. I think it helped me very much, and I believe it's a critical system that, oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm very bad at it.
It's okay, you're doing great.
You're doing great.
Sorry.
And
I believe that'll be good for other students in the future too, because not everybody in high school knows where they want to go, and this might help them steer to a certain path or stick to their goals.
Vince is one of our rising juniors. When I met him, he wouldn't look at me in the eye, and now he's confident, and we're so pleased with the progress that they make.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is actually a graduate from Bastrop High School, and he came in his work clothes. His mom asked me, Mr. Alves, he's worried. I said, no, come in your work clothes because you are the success. When we say bridging the gap, he's done it. So go ahead, Heath Glenn.
Hello, members of the board, thank you for having us tonight. This program has affected me greatly. Just the same as my constituent Vincent, I had no idea what I wanted to do in high school. I had gone through all my classes, I was making good grades, but I was bored. I tell you, I did not want to go to college, but I had no idea what else to do. Well, I knew that I liked working with my hands, but I knew that as well I still like to use my mind. And so, as soon as we got the interest form for this internship, I knew it had my name written all over it. It had everything. I mean, you got to go through and experience each of the 6 departments at TCS. Their BIM, their plumbing, welding, sheet metal. You got to go through and you got to see the day-to-day work life of everybody in that company, every aspect. And it was great. It opened my eyes and it really put me on my career path. And through this internship, it has given me the connections, and I've worked hard and been recognized, and I've applied, interviewed, and I've been accepted into Local 286 on a apprenticeship program, on their apprenticeship program. And
That is just a sample, and our young ladies have done a fabulous job, one of them in the administrative area. Allie doesn't talk a whole lot in public, but she has been outstanding in several departments. Mr. Gertz, will you close us out with a couple of thank yous, and then we would like to recognize some of our students and also the outstanding support staff and team that really drove the engine behind the scenes.
Absolutely. Just, again, a huge shout out to the kiddos here and the students who tried so hard this summer to better themselves, not only academically, but on a personal level as well and professional. Just a huge shout out to Bastrop ISD, everyone involved in helping me and Mr. Alves go and try to make these connections happen, not just starting these 2 internships with First National as well as TCS, but they deserve the credit as well. They take time out of their schedule to help us out. So I just want to give a personal thanks to Miss Megan Truitt, who makes all things run at TCS Mechanical. A huge shout out to our supervisor, Miss Raina Ellis, who lets us go and try to get these kids where they need to go in life. And of course, Miss Fabiola Barrera, who really did the legwork on this one to get these students paid and get the greatest experience. So thank you all.
And with that, we'd like to recognize Miss Fabiola Barrera. Please come forward for a certificate of appreciation. Oh, we can clap, absolutely. Our next certificate of appreciation, don't run off. Fabiola will run off, but she's great for us. Miss Megan Truitt, come on down. We would like to take just a moment, Dr. Lee, if I may have the liberty to introduce our students forefront.
Absolutely.
Students, we're going to slide right up to the front as I introduce you and you hold your certificate.
Come up here and turn around so the audience can see you.
There you go. We have Mr. Heath Lynn. We have Mr. Daniel Cruz. We have Ms. Allie Morires. We have Mr. Vincent Murphy. She won't tell you, but she coordinated it all. Ms. Naya Sanchez.
Oh, would you like one?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
We would really love to have a photo with the board, if I may take that.
Sure, absolutely.
These are outstanding. This is the reason we're here.
No, I think he wants the whole board. We call Mr. Alves and Mr. Gertz the dynamic duo. If they want a picture, we're gonna give them a picture.
We try to get 2 rows in.
2 rows? How about the students in front, the adults can be in the back?
There we go.
Yes, Chad, will you fill in right there? Yeah. There she is. Perfect. All right, you guys right here. We'll take a few. 3, 2, 1.
Members of the board, thank you again.
It's such a special opportunity to have our people in our community invest in our kids, and then we really appreciate the support that TCS Mechanical and First National have shown to get our kids in these internship programs. Next, we're going to go into the presentation public hearing of the 26-27 proposed tax rate. And before we take up the tax rate, I wanted to spend a few minutes on how we got here, because the number on the agenda tonight will be reported as a tax increase. And that framing, while technically accurate under state law, does not tell this community what it deserves to know. For the last several years, this board has adopted a maintenance and operations tax rate that was lower than the year before. Not once, not twice, but year after year. And we did not do that because our costs went down. We did it because the state of Texas told us to. The maximum M&O rate a school district may levy is not set by the board. It is calculated by the Texas Education Agency under a compression formula that the legislature wrote. When the property values in this county rise faster than the statutory trigger, our rate is compressed downward automatically, whether or not our costs have moved an inch. And here's the part that doesn't appear on the tax bill. When the state compressed our rate, it did not stop adding to our obligations. Since 2019, the legislature has directed this district to place an armed officer on every campus, to stand up new safety and mental health infrastructure, to adopt new discipline and placement procedures, to review and readopt instructional materials on the state schedule, to train our teachers through state-prescribed reading and math academies, to restructure special education services, to absorb higher retirement and health insurance costs for our employees, and most recently, to implement a set of new classroom, library, device, and policy mandates from the 89th legislatures. And some of these came with money attached, but very few came with enough. So we arrive at tonight with a maintenance operations budget that is short approximately $1.7 million for 26-27, with enrollment that has flattened, with a compressed rate that's about to fall another 1.7 cents on its own. So at this point, we'll move into the consider adoption of a board resolution to set the 26-27 tax rate, and to consider an adoption of an order calling a voter-approved tax rate election and enacting other provisions related thereto. Our presenter tonight is Mike White, our Chief Financial Officer.
Thank you, sir. It's a great lead-in. One of the things I wanted to highlight that's a little unique about the next two items, they're kind of joined at the hip. The first one being the tax rate, the second one being if the board does adopt the proposed rate would trigger an associated election. So thereby adding the election order as the second item. So it's like 2A, 2B there. So rather than try to discuss the Vader after we've already adopted the tax rate, we're going to discuss them all now so that we've covered both territories. Okay? So one of the things we love to do in public education, we love acronyms. School finance loves acronyms just as much as anybody. So a couple of key items, a couple of key acronyms we're going to use tonight. Very common, M&O and INS, probably very much associated with the budgets, but also key components, the two key components of the tax rate. So the M&O being when we talk about the budget, we talk about M&O, right? Keeps the lights on, pays staff, the actual running of the schools. Whereas the INS rate, sometimes called debt service, is the rate that we set to service our annual debt service payments, right? So as we've issued bonds over the years to build schools and facilities, they come along with principal and interest payments. And so this portion of the rate simply covers that. Now, I will say, this is a good time to mention that for the most part, we're not even going to talk about that piece of the rate tonight, right? But it's been 40.1 cents for a number of years. That's remaining the same. Everything related to the Vader, which I'll explain in a second, is related just to the M&O portion of the budget and tax rate. So, MCR, our board president talked about compression, and that's something that the state has done for a number of years now to provide taxpayer relief, right? So basically, they're buying down the M&O portion of the tax rate, right? Back in the day, when I started my career, tax rates were about $1.50 for M&O. They got bought down to around the dollar rate, and now they've been compressing a lot recently, and we're in the 60% range, 60 cent range. So if we refer to the MCR on any of the slides moving forward, that's the state calculated rate that you mentioned just a moment ago. So Vader is a big topic tonight, given our proposed rate. It's also sometimes called a VATRE or a Vader. It is a voter approval tax rate election. Essentially, if you exceed a certain rate, you trigger a tax rate election. So it's a pretty straightforward abbreviation there for what we're going to be talking about. And that would be the second item if approved. So let's back up a little bit. Since 2018-19, that's when rates were at that $1.04 level and have been compressed in recent history. You'll notice there I mentioned the debt service rate or INS rate being 40.1 cents. That's been a constant, even with our 2021 and 23 approvals by the community and issuances. That has remained the same with As our values have grown, we've been able to cover that. So really focused on the blue section of the tax rate. You can see there in 2018-19, it was $1.04. And last year it was 0.6669, or said another way, 66.69 pennies, right? A little bit of frame of reference as we move forward. So let's compare this proposed tax rate to last year. And this is where some of those acronyms come into play. Our state calculated compressed rate was 61.69 pennies. With compression of 1.7 pennies, we would go down to 0.5999 or 59.99 pennies. The second piece of our rate, and we'll talk about this visually and delve into this a little bit more, so bear with me. Our golden pennies, in Tier 2, we have 5 of those now. We're proposing to go to 8 golden pennies. And that's the second line there, the 3 penny increase. So the combination of that compression of one piece and the increase in the other is a net impact of 1.3 pennies in the right-hand column. So dropping 1.7 pennies, going up 3 pennies, 1.3 penny delta. Again, INS rate being held constant, no change there. The total tax rate being proposed of $1.08, 1.0809, is 1.3 cents more than the previous year rate. All right? So that's a mouthful, I get it. So let's talk about that and break it down a little bit more in future slides. If we propose and adopt a tax rate that exceeds the allowable rate, we will trigger a VADER. Now, what is a VADER? It is a mechanism that the state of Texas has that allows school districts to ask voters permission to increase its M&O tax rate. Basically, that local control we talk about, this is the ability for a community to make that decision for themselves in terms of supplemental funding. All right? The key for us, and the part of the reason administration is making the recommendation, is we're one of the few districts locally that doesn't have access to all the most valuable pennies, right? So these 3 pennies would generate about $800,000 locally, but about $2 million in total, right? So the state's formula is this is the reason they're called golden, is they are the most advantageous portion of our tax rate. So 3 pennies would generate about $6 million. So that's the key, that's the why, right? So I've covered this a little bit. It does generate quite a bit of funding. And we talk about, districts sometimes talk about golden and copper pennies. Copper pennies are not as valuable and they're additional. We're not talking about that or proposing it, so I'm not going to even address that. But those 8 allowable pennies, we currently have 5. We're proposing going up 3 to a total of 8, right? Just want to make that part clear. So let's visually, I'm a visual guy, so this is how I break it down. We talked about that base rate, right, that the state calculates for you, the MCR. Last year it was 6169, and we had 5 golden pennies historically. So our tax rate was a 66.69. With compression, we're going down on the base rate, and with adoption and voter approval in November of the 3 additional pennies, in Tier 2, we would go up to 0.6799. So I think that's basically the takeaway there. So for perspective, if we look locally, I pulled in every relevant school district I could think of. I'm sure there's others that you could look at, but I think the story would remain the same. For our M&O rate, what does that look like? You can see here we're tied with 2 others for the second lowest, being at the lower end of the scale, with Austin ISD being on the upper end. But the thing that I think is most interesting is the Tier 2 portion. This is where we have that local control. When you just hone in on this and you don't look at historical tax rates that have compressed different levels based on value growth, you just look at what you've had really choice about, we're at that base level, that minimum of 5 pennies, along with Del Valle and Giddings. And the 3 of us are well lower than all of our counterparts across the area. And part of the reason these districts have had to pursue this is the same reason we're coming to you tonight, right? You've seen for the first time a deficit budget, approved, difficult process we went through pretty much the whole first part of the year. districts across the state are in the same situation. So we're going through this process a little bit with one hand tied behind our back in terms of funding, because there's very few mechanisms of control in the state funding formula other than growth. And this is one that we could actually make a decision about as a board and as a community here. So why do districts go for a Vader? I mean, there's a number of reasons. I'll list some of the things that are really the key highlights for us. The shortfalls across the state. We talked about that throughout the budget process. That continues to be the case, right? Big, small, fast growth, no growth. The story is more or less the same across the state. We're going into a session next year, which has a lot of uncertainty about it, especially this will be the first session after the approval of the voucher program that the leaders in our state have supported and got through this last session. So it'd be interesting to see what their thoughts are on public education funding moving forward. Widespread deficit budgets, unfunded mandates. I think we had a question about that, and you brought it up in your presentation before. Talk about that a little bit more. And then just ongoing needs. You guys know, like everyone, we have more needs than we have resources. So this would allow us a little bit more flexibility to address some of the shortfalls, address teacher retention and recruitment and staff compensation, all the things that our new superintendent and the 7 trustees here are charged with, developing the actual, absolutely best education for our kids. So very critical for us moving forward. So how could these funds be used? And of course, subject to the board's, what they opt to do if passed. Improve staff compensation. Obviously, that, most of our budget is staff, and competing with our counterparts and the private sector is always critical. Additional officers under House Bill 3 for campus safety and security. That's always at the forefront of our budget process and how we allocated resources this past spring and would be moving forward. It would allow us to maximize our school funding under the current formula. And also, last but not least, it would allow us to balance the general fund budget with no new state funding anticipated next session. Now, it is, of course, too early to know which way the wind is blowing there, but definitely no guarantee. Typically, the state has not followed a session like last session where there was an infusion of funding with additional funding the following session, the following biennium. So, too early to say, but those are the kind of things that the funds would be used for. So how do you call a VATRE or a VATR? Once you adopt a rate that exceeds the state's calculated allowable rate, in essence, it triggers the election. So we would then need to actually order the election. It basically, adopting the rate proposed tonight triggers the need for that. And so the order actually being a formality of all the specifics related to the election, but a necessary one at that. So this is why we call it 2A, 2B, because they are tied at the hip, right? And one necessitates the other if approved. So the timeline here, I thought these were some important key dates. Of course, the election calendar has quite a few other dates, but these are the highlights. By the 17th, we have to approve an order calling the election, hence the reason we moved up the board meeting, so we had the chance to discuss this before the deadline. We have the efficiency audit, while not technically required for us this year, currently being conducted and to be presented to the board in September for your review. And then the last day register to vote will be early October, and then voting kicks off, in about 60 days. So a little over. And then election day, the uniform election date that we're required to adhere to being in early November on the 3rd. So one of the things, we talked about a lot of the same concepts in our last meeting. I wanted to come back and flesh out a little bit of more of an example or two to kind of let you know how this might impact various homeowners and clarify one aspect that we didn't really delve into last time. So let's take your average homeowner in BISD. And I say average because the $378,000 figure came from the appraisal district, right? That's market value. In my example last meeting, I didn't make it really clear that was a taxable amount of $300,000. So if you have a $378,000 home, you're going to have the new increased homestead exemption, right, which is now $140,000. So taxable value would then be at $238,000. Every penny on the tax rate's about $24 per year. So for this homeowner, the average homeowner, it would be about $6 per month, okay, or $72 per year. And again, I put the bottom point there just to reiterate, those 65 and older with the homestead exemption would be unaffected if the proper paperwork was in filed. I won't run through this, I won't belabor the point, but again, this is a higher level home. This is a $500,000 home, right? Which is, in this day and age, is not a crazy number anymore. With a market value of $500,000, they'd be taxed on $360,000, and the impact would be a little higher. It'd be about $9 per month, or a little over $100 per year. Okay? Again, that's a little bit of a mouthful, so we kind of put together two different scenarios and charted it out using the tax rate specifics, and then what your tax bill might look like. And you can see there with the current homeowner tax bill of $2541, this just being our portion of the tax bill, not maybe the whole tax bill. Without a Vader, you would have compression, right? So I want to make clear, I want to be transparent about that. It would go down about $40 per year. With adopting this rate, and if voter approved, it would be an increase of about $32 a year. So the delta between those two numbers is the impact for this scenario home. And then, of course, you have a little higher home. If it were lower, the numbers would be even lower. But again, I won't read it all, but you can see the dollars we're talking about. Not significant overall, but it has some impact, right? So the bottom line, it's very advantageous for us at this time to pursue those 3 pennies that we haven't to date. Triggers additional funding. There's very little we do that will generate this level of funding. And most of the area has already gone down this road. We're competing with a number of districts that have accessed these pennies and use them for recruiting and retaining teachers. And so if the board chooses to adopt the rate, the M&O rate of 6,799, it is 1.3 pennies different than the current rate. So here is one more look at that. Before I had just the current state and the future state, I wanted to show that as well. Current state in the first column, potential, if we do nothing tonight and we just use the calculated rate, it would be the 1.7 cents. If we adopted the 3 golden pennies, really you see the difference there between those 2 yellow sections. Those 3 pennies, which generate $6 million, would increase us to 6,799. So there's your 3 pennies, with the delta being the 1.3. So I thought that the best way to visualize it and to show the 2 different tiers of our rate that go into the M&O rate. So tonight, administration comes to you with 2 recommendations. We recommend you adopt the board resolution adopting the rate of $1.0809 and the order calling the VATRE. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions.
Are there any questions or discussion from the board?
I do. Mike, you said I guess just to reemphasize that the compression rate, that is a state formula that we have no input on. Is that correct?
No input on it whatsoever. In fact, it's a very simple formula. Last year's certified values, this year's certified values, it takes that difference, and then like you mentioned, there's a state level. So basically, if you exceed a certain level, and that's the state average, right? They calculate that state rate, and of course, the math on our rate is simple. It's last year over this year as a percentage, and then their formula spits out the rate. So actually, it's it takes about 30 seconds to calculate, and of course, they technically have to approve it by August 6th, and that's already happened. That is going to happen. That is a firm number. The only choice we have is in the tier 2, right?
And as far as, and I think you had a slide also, is if when we do, or if and when we do get those funds, then we would come back and adjust the budget if it's
Yeah, that's a good
passed.
point. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to bake it into the original budget. So if order approved on the 3rd of November, we would have to come back and amend the budget. And that, of course, is like the original budget that you adopted in June. That's something that the board, that's your charge, right? So, you'd have a lot of input and, of course, approval of any changes to the budget.
Mike, it sounds like one of the big advantages of this is that for every dollar we get here in our golden pennies, the state provides us $1.50.
Absolutely,
And,
yes.
and so there's a big benefit in having that additional access that we wouldn't have otherwise. Is that the way I understand that correctly?
Yes, sir?
And then that money is not subject to recapture. It all stays in BISD.
Yeah, none of our funds are subject to recapture, but none of this would trigger that. And so there's some districts that have that as part of their equation. But no, in this case, we generate the dollars locally. They match the funding, and it'd be at least $6 million. So, yeah. So,
Mike?
yes, ma'am.
All good? Okay. I just wanted to make a couple comments about where we stand on fund balance and reserves and sort of the critical nature of addressing this today, considering the legislature meets every couple of years. We just had what they consider a windfall of funding. Not so much us, but they considered that. And so, this idea that they very possibly wouldn't entertain more funding to the schools this next session would cause us to use fund balance for the shortfall and then in the subsequent year again. And so we've discussed that in budget sessions or in budget meetings and when we passed the budget a couple months ago. And so I guess I'd also like to point out a couple of things just on the record and for the audience that we have a scorecard, a report card, if you will, from TEA, where we as a district receive a rating for how well we manage our finances. And so one of the things that I asked Mike to tell me was what this would do to our rating as a district, right? Do we lose points? Will we continue to be A-rated? We're superior rated district, so it's like the highest, right, Mike, that we could possibly be. So that was the first question I had, and to that end, we have discovered that there wouldn't be, we wouldn't be penalized necessarily for doing this. I'd also like to point out that the district has a very strong record for doing that year over year over year. So the board members that you've had today and in years past, I think, and superintendents alike and CFOs have, stretched every dollar they could possibly stretch. And I'm sure there's a bit more to do, but there's a balance and it's kind of tricky. And we never want the kids to feel, or at least I don't want the kids or our staff to feel that we're not working as hard as we possibly can to rally the troops and help our community understand how important these things are. So I just wanted to point out that our rating is very, very good and that we suspect will not change. So.
I suspect it may go up.
Yeah.
But I don't want to steal my own thunder. That's next month. But sneak peek, yes, it's going to continue to remain a superior rating, which is the biggest takeaway, which is the highest standard that you can get. And that's really attributable to just a history of strong financial leadership, as at the board level, superintendent level, and, again, just great work all around. We have a healthy fund balance, but again, like we talked about throughout the budget season, you start dipping into territory of deficits, which I didn't feel comfortable. I know the superintendent felt uncomfortable with even going down that road. So we mitigated it quite a bit. But you start stacking, like the starting point would then be that deficit next year, So unless something changes, this is where you find yourself in the situation of some of our peers, is because it starts to stack on itself. Kind of like the national debt, it's not a situation anybody's comfortable with. But you're right, in everything you said. So Well said.
Any other board members have any discussion or questions?
I've got a couple.
Yes, ma'am.
I think as you mentioned, we did go in the 2026-27 budget, our budget approved, we did dip into our fund balance. And I know I, for one, was uncomfortable. I think the whole board was uncomfortable. And just as you were saying, this coming up year, if we don't get additional funds, we're going to have to dip into it again just to have the budget remain as what we approved. So that's important, is the fund balance. That's our rainy day. Just in case something happens, that is our rainy day. And plus also, you said the state mandates that we have a fund balance that'll carry us 3 months, 6 months?
Standard is 3 months.
3 months.
And we're about 4.2.
Okay. Second is, you mentioned that there's an efficiency audit. But what do they look at?
Sure.
And I'm unaware of that, and just for the folks, what do they look at, and what's the score on this? What happens?
Well, I can tell you what they look at in terms of the results. We're awaiting those as well. From what I've given them in terms of inputs, it looks like, certain spending metrics per student, processes, efficiency. I mean, like it sounds like efficiency audit. A lot of it seems to focus in on best practices related to staffing, budgeting, energy management, safety and security. I mean, they cover a lot of territory. I'm kind of curious. This is my first time through the process. And so I've been working on the inputs and working with our audit firm. And again, we should have that here for you to look at in September. I mean, the only metrics we really use in the first rating that compares to our peers are administrative cost ratio currently. And as we presented, I think, last year, we had the lowest administrative overhead of any of our peers in that year. So that's something we've always kind of, it's been a source of pride. We run pretty lean and have to do more with less, like our staff and campuses do as well. So I wish I could give you a little bit more flavor. You could find some that are out there publicly at other districts. In terms of how the results I'm kind of curious. It could be insightful for us. We're going to start the budget process before long, right, for next year.
Right. Now, the audit will be available for the public, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Once it gets
It will be
published,
discussed into the board.
And they can obtain a copy if need be.
Oh, of course. It's going to be
Before
public
they vote.
record, and it'll be
Okay,
presented
all
to
right.
the board. I'll probably be up here going over it, I assume. I haven't even talked about it, but I would think that I would present it to the board, the results of the findings. They don't really have any, there's no mechanism, there's no real teeth to them. It's just to inform the board, give you some perspective, in the community as well, about how we're doing, how we compare. So, yeah.
Mike, in that regard too, we just went through this budget process, and maybe the public does know this or doesn't know this, but I mean, when we went through this, there was a directive given, hey, every department, y'all need to cut 15%. I mean, we've already implemented all the cuts that we can have at this point. We always look for those too. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I think here and everywhere, really, the low-hanging fruit has long since been picked. Cutting departments, again, before I got here, I think there were some cuts from my predecessor, so I came in and did 15%. So at this point, it's running pretty lean. Most of it is staff, though. It's staff and programs, and we base that on ratios that we think we can get by with. I wish they were lower, for our classrooms, but yeah, we run pretty lean. I mean, if you compare us to our counterparts, and I think that's what we'll find out. We'll see. But yeah, this is before we know it, we're going to be back at the table and making these decisions again. So.
This is a public hearing, and if any member of the public would like to ask any questions, we would just ask that you approach the podium and use the microphone so that any of our folks online can hear the question as well.
I could start by addressing, I think.
Ms. Kaler's question?
Is that okay? That'd be great. I don't want you have to repeat it. If I recall it correctly, talked about unfunded mandates. You touched upon it a little bit. For me, the two biggest outliers by far I would say special education, to meet the needs of our special education students. It's about a $3 million gap, right? So, and that's without, I feel like that's doing without everything we would love to have as well there. So special education is always a key one, and the safety and security. They made the requirement to have officers on every campus, but the funding falls well short of that mandate. So I think it's about close to $2.5 million, $2.5 million shortfall on that mandate. So those two combined are more than, more than the amount of funding we'll generate. So, but really the one of the unfunded mandates about public education is that, since 2019, inflation is, according to the CPI, about 30%. Basic allotment just went up 0.8%, so about 30 times the basic allotment increase. So that's really the crux of most of the arguments about public education funding, is just that we still have to do all the same things, right? And it's eating our lunch, and really affecting our ability to balance budgets and to hire staff. And so that's the triple whammy right there. And part of there's a number of other things as well, but those are the ones that stick out for me. So.
Does any other member of the public have any questions or discussion items for Mr. White?
My name is Megan Webb. I'm the mom of 2 current BISD students and 1 graduate. I don't have a question. I do have a comment. I'm philosophically not a fan of taxation for taxation's sake. And I think when we're asking the public to vote for something like this and to pass it, what we're asking is for an investment in the district, and by association, an investment in our kids and our educators and district staff. And I think most people who invest expect to see a return on their investment. And so I think what I'd like to say to my fellow community members is that, having worked closely with the district over the years, I'm very confident in this district's ability to get a return on our investment, especially when it comes to academics, which is an area that we need support in. As we've seen with the grades on different campuses, I think we need support there. And I think it's also an investment into our local economy to be able to give teachers who live here more money that they're going to spend here in Bastrop. And so I do hope that you guys will vote to pass this.
Any other questions from the public? If not, we'll close the public hearing, and I'll ask if there's a motion on item A.
I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 1.0809, which is effectively a 1.2% increase in the tax rate as presented.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the administration's suggested tax rate here. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries unanimously, which will carry us forward to the next motion, where we will move to approve and adopt the order calling the voter-approved tax rate election and enacting other provisions related thereto. I so move. Is there a second?
Okay, second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of this motion, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. White. Next, we'll move into our superintendent's report, business services report, communications report, and our reports from those business services, communications, human resources, police, safety, and security are for information only. Before we move into any presentations, are there any questions about those reports? Doesn't appear so. Next is our curriculum and instruction report. Oh, I just skipped right over Dr. Lee. It really just gets, we're very efficient here. This is part of our efficiency.
Honestly, my superintendent report this month is really short and sweet. We concluded our first day of school today, and that really does not happen successfully without just so many people across the district who've been working tirelessly to prepare for a successful day one. You know, our buildings looked just beautiful inside. They were so clean and ready for our children. Food was there and available, and hot and cold meals for students. The grounds looked just great. I know that I heard earlier from our Director of Operations that we only had 2 hot calls today, and what that means is teachers calling saying, my room is too warm. 2 across the thousands and thousands of classrooms that we have across the district. So that is outstanding. Our C&I department was fanned out all over the district today, spending their entire day in the schools to be an extra adult, as well as HR and other departments as well, that they volunteered to spend their day there just to be an extra adult, whether in the cafeteria on duty or helping kids get on buses or out of cars. It really was just an incredible team effort so that our teachers and our kids could have everything that they needed. So kudos to just everyone in BISD for what you did to make today happen. So. And now for our C&I report.
Yes. Our curriculum and instruction report, which is our 2026 accountability and academic achievement update. Our presenter is Jennifer Eberly, our Chief Academic Officer.
Okay, good evening, Board and Dr. Lee. So I'm here tonight to provide an update on our student achievement as well as our final accountability reports for the 25-26 school year. So at the July board meeting, I shared an initial update on our student achievement results, and so I'd like to revisit those briefly this evening for anybody that didn't have the opportunity to hear those, so we get a true understanding of where we're at as a district. So the first thing I presented on the screen is a comparison of our student STAR performance data, our base level data, both across all assessments and within each of the 4 content areas. So on the chart, green indicates growth, red indicates a decline, and white indicates that performance remained consistent. So there's several key highlights that I want to point out here. Elementary math demonstrated consistent gains across all grade levels. 7th and 8th grade reading showed strong overall gains and had noticeable growth in written responses. English 1, English 2, and biology end-of-course exams also demonstrated strong gains. During the year, we used the MAP assessment to monitor progress for our youngest learners. Students take the MAP assessment at the beginning, middle, and end of the year, allowing us to measure growth in both literacy and math skills. This gives us an important look at academic growth in our foundational grades throughout the year. On the next 2 charts, we're going to look at both the percentile growth and the achievement increases in reading and math. As a reminder, our goal is to reach the 50th percentile in growth. When students are performing at the 50th percentile in growth, that's average growth. Anything above that is what we call accelerated growth. And so as you look in here in reading, we saw strong gains in foundational grades, giving us a solid foundation to continue on. When we come to math, we saw even stronger gains. This is particularly encouraging because we also saw the same growth reflected in our STAR achievement results in elementary grades. TELPAS measures the English language proficiency of our emergent bilingual students across 4 domains: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. One important change that TEA made this year was in past years, students were looked at for each domain individually and if they made growth or not. In this last year, they looked at a composite score to measure growth. Now that could mean a student could make growth in reading and math, and listening and speaking, and still not show growth in their composite score. But as you can see, we did have a slight increase in our composite score this year. 10 campuses saw growth in their overall TELPAS. 3 of those saw double-digit gains, and we as a district saw an increase in 3 of the 4 domains. So let's get into our final accountability for 2026. These were just released to us to the state, and they will be released public-wide tomorrow. As a reminder, our accountability system is based on 3 buckets: student achievement, school progress, which includes growth and how we're compared to other like districts or campuses, and closing the gaps. So as a district, we did see some multi-year gains here. In Domain 1, our student achievement, we saw a 3-point gain. In 2A, which looks at the growth of our students, we saw a 3-point gain. In Domain 2B, which compares us to like districts, we saw a 3-point gain moving us up to a C rating. And then in Domain 3, closing the gaps, we did see a 1-point decrease, but we maintained our C in this. Now, what did that mean overall? Overall, once those numbers were all put into a blender like it does, that does mean that we saw a 1-point gain to a 72 and maintained our C. Now, being candid for a second, when you look at growth, what we saw in so many areas, and you see a 1-point gain right here, you kind of take a deep breath in, right? But the story doesn't lie right there. The story lies in our campuses, and that's what I want to highlight tonight. So let's start with our overall campus ratings. Now, as we see on the screen, our campuses for secondary, we're looking at the 2025 accountability score on the left compared to the 2026 score on the right, allowing us to see movement from one year to the next. This shows our comparison of our elementary campuses. Now, here's where I want to put it all together. For 2026, 8 of our campuses have received a B rating or higher. Some highlights of that: all 4 high schools, Bastrop High School, Cedar Creek High School, Circa, and Genesis, will all be B or higher rated this year. Joining them is Bastrop Middle School, Adelton Elementary, Bluebonnet Elementary, and Colony Oaks Elementary. This is the highest percentages of B or higher rated campuses that we've seen since the A through F accountability system was implemented in 2019. Now let's look at that progression for a second. In 2019, when the system was implemented, 29% of our schools were rated at a B or higher. Now, after COVID, we were at 21%. At 7% in 2023 is when we started taking a hard look at what we needed to do next. And we made some big shifts that year, as we keep saying. In 2024 was our first year of implementation, 6%. 2025, we saw 13%. And now in 2026, almost 50% of our schools are going to be B rated. So what does that mean? Well, what it tells us is that we're heading in the right direction. So some key highlights from our data. Like I said, 8 campuses are rated B or higher. 8 campuses increased a full letter grade. 10 of them increased their overall score. 1 campus, CCMS, exited school improvement. They came up 2 solid letter grades from an F to a C. We had 12 campuses that increased their student achievement, 7 increased student growth, and 10 increased closing the gaps. Some really big increases in there. Some other things that I want to highlight: each year, TEA also recognizes campuses that have distinctions based on areas of demonstrated academic achievement and performance. In 2026, we also saw an increase in the number of distinctions earned for our campuses. Circa added 1 more to their list, gaining academic achievement in RLA, math, science, and social studies, as well as post-secondary readiness. Cedar Creek High School had post-secondary readiness, and Bastrop Middle School earned a distinction for the top 25% of academic growth. Now, I do want to tell a little story, and I hope she's watching at home. When I told Tiffany Pearson, she got excited and hugged me and then turned around and says, I have math and science next year, just so you know. And I said, yes, you do. So they're ready for the next ones. Our other ones that earned for academic growth, Bluebonnet Elementary, as well as Colony Oaks Elementary. So just to put this in perspective, when we talk about the 40 schools that they're compared to, these campuses were in the top 25% of those schools, and that's how you earn a distinction. So while we've seen progress, we don't deny that there's still work to be done. We're on a mission. We had 5 campuses that earned our lowest ratings. We've also relooked and redefined our tiered systems of support to provide targeted intervention based on each campus's needs while continuing to build that instructional and leadership capacity. We're looking at continuing our monthly campus supports, our weekly one-to-one meetings, having frequent instructional walks, and then continuing to develop our needs based on what the campus needs. As we go into 26-27, here's what I'm going to say. We will stay the course because the work is paying off. We continue building sustainable systems and practices that create lasting success for our students and district. We will provide differentiated support and targeted interventions to campuses that have not reached a B yet, focusing on each campus's unique needs and building their capacity for sustained success. And then we will continue to raise expectations, challenging our thinking, and innovate to create meaningful learning opportunities for every student. Our goal is clear: to be a district of choice for our students, families, and educators. Now, here's what I want to leave you with as one final thought as we wrap up. 3 years ago, we began a journey to transform instruction, and we made some bold changes because we believed our students deserved the best. At that time, only 6% of our campuses had earned an A or a B rating. Fast forward 3 years to where we're at nearly 50%. That is remarkable progress, and it confirms that we're on the right trajectory. So what I shared with you tonight was an update on student achievement and highlighted areas of continued growth for our campuses. But the progress and celebrations we are seeing are a direct result of dedication, hard work, and commitment of our teachers, students, and campus leaders. This multi-year progress growth belongs to all of them, and we're proud of what they're accomplishing together. So we are proud of the success and the trajectory we're seeing, and we know that we still have work to do. We remain committed to our goal of becoming a B-rated district and in supporting every campus and serving this community with excellence. So as we move into another year, as I always say, we are on a mission. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Are there any questions for Ms. Eberly from the board?
I've got,
Okay.
back when you were on those schools, the 5 or 6 schools that you're going to have a little bit more concentration on, does any of that also include perhaps additional, I think Dr. Lee or Ms. Ruiz said something about adults, I think it was Dr. Lee, the first day you had adults in, kind of helping the campuses. Is that part of the plan that to help some of the teachers that perhaps are struggling, just maybe with classroom management or presenting the information, to have an extra adult in there because I know as I volunteered that the teacher was appreciative and it seemed to help a little bit, have an extra pair of eyes around the classroom.
Our support is defined by the level of support that the campus needs. And so if a campus like the one mentioned up there will get touch points of somebody out there to support them through classroom management, through instruction, through coaching, 4 to 5 days a week. So it means that somebody will be out there at some point in time. And then as a campus is maybe at a B rating, we may pull off, and that's a little less support. We may be over there 1 or 2 days a week. So it's just defined by the amount of support that they're needed on that campus. But yeah.
It seemed to work at I call it my elementary
Your
school.
elementary, yes.
Red Rock. That's mine. I was very happy to see that the grade went up. I'm excited for that.
They've had they've had what we call sustainable growth.
Yeah.
9 points in 1 year, 8 points the next year, and that's what we're aiming for. That gets you to the level you want to be at.
Well, I'll try to do my part.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move into our Facilities and Support Services report with our bond program update. Our presenter is Lee Raspberry, Executive Director of Facilities and Support Services. Mr. Raspberry.
Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Lee, I'm happy to be here with you this evening to share an update on the 2023 bond projects. We'll start with Mena Elementary. That project is 97% complete. We're just waiting on a couple of playground items. Outside of that, everything is completed at the campus. Phase 3 demo obviously is complete. East Playground is complete with new pour-in-place rubber. We got rid of all the mulch and that sort of thing. We went to pour-in-place. West Playground is 97% complete, just waiting on a shade cloth, which hopefully will be installed on Saturday. The decomposed granite walking track is complete. New parking areas are 100% complete, and that project was completed actually ahead of schedule. There's a picture of the entrance to the library cafe, and you can see the courtyard that's in between the educational wing and the library there. Really looks nice, matches the existing admin building almost perfectly. There's an aerial view. So you can see the entire building. You can see the walking track. Currently, the turf that you see in the middle of the walking track is got temp irrigation on it. It'll be there for about 3 weeks until the grass becomes established. Then we'll remove the temp irrigation and open that up for kids to play, put some soccer goals out there, that sort of thing. The existing playground that you see at the top of the slide, I'll come back to that. That's our kitchen. Our child nutrition workers love it. There's a second and third grade hallway. That's the playground that I was talking about. That area that you see that's turf now used to be dirt. And those kids played in that dirt, and the teachers, everybody congregated under that big Arizona ash that you see there. And so we went ahead and turfed that. And made it much nicer for the students, much nicer for the staff. And of course, we got rid of all the mulch there at that existing playground and added pour-in-place rubber. Just a real quick note on Mena Elementary. I was out there yesterday, and I was standing on the sidewalk, and I was talking to one of our grounds staff, and I noticed a gentleman pulled up just down from me, got out of his truck, and was standing at the fence taking pictures. And so I thought, well, I'm going to walk down and introduce myself to this man. And so I walked down there, and his name was Mr. Winkler. I remember that. And he went to school there in 1961. And he just could not get over how beautiful the school was. He had no idea that we were doing all of this work. The old wing that was up front blocked a lot of the view, right, from Farm Street. And I asked him, I said, how much time do you have? And he said, well, I'm an old guy, I got nothing going on. I said, well, let's go inside. And so he and I went inside, took him on a tour, stopped into classrooms. He got the best explanation about the music room from the music teacher. We went to the library. We went all around the first floor, and he just loved it. And so anyway, I had to part company with him, but he was very appreciative of the opportunity to go in there. He just was really in awe of the advancements that we've made in education and what we put into these schools and stuff. But I thought that was worth mentioning. Gateway and Circuit Genesis renovations, 99% complete. The Gateway renovation is 100% complete. Circuit Genesis renovation is about 99% complete. We're just waiting on a few minor things. I think we're going to swap out some cores from construction to small format cores in the doors. And then they'll be done over there. That project also was on schedule and within budget. This is a picture of the Gateway staff break room. I don't know if any of you have seen it prior to the renovation, but it was a little dated. It was a little rough, okay? And So we're really proud. We're really proud because those students and staff deserve a nice facility to learn and to work in as well. So we put a lot of emphasis on this. That's just an old metal building, but on the inside is really nice. So that's the break room. That's the new administration area with the offices, Mr. Allison and Mr. Jones' office up front. Renovated restrooms. The restrooms, of course, were also pretty rough. So we've renovated the restrooms. There's an aerial of the new parent drop-off and what I call the razor blade parking lot to the south there. All of that has been repaved, restriped, and is open for use. Over at Circa, the renovation over there encompassed the back hallway where PD was officed. We had 6 classrooms in there that we renovated. Once we got PD out, we knocked a bunch of walls down and returned those classrooms to traditional classrooms. And so that's what they look like. That's that back hallway. It's been completed. Bastrop High School additions and renovations combined through GM3 is about 80% complete. Locker rooms are 90% complete. The library renovation's about 95% complete. New classroom wing is 65% complete. Competition gym, we just received our building final 2 days ago. Bus loading area canopy is complete, and the re-roof is about 75% complete. And it's on time. There's an aerial of the competition gym exterior and the student or the bus queuing, the student pickup, where you see the long canopy. There's competition gym. Really looks nice. They've done a great job on it. There's a library circulation desk, new carpeting, new paint, new ceiling in most areas, all new furniture. It really did turn out nice. There's an aerial of the re-roof. You can see what's been completed and what is left to still be completed. Everything that you see on the right, CTE signs and music or band hall will be completed next summer. We knew that when we started to do the re-roof, it was going to encompass 2 summers. But that's all new roof that you see there. That roofing company's been working at night with light plants. So we've been able to keep all the students in there, keep all the things happening while they've been re-roofing that school. It's actually pretty amazing. That's an American Constructors project. They're doing a great job for us. You can also see Bear Drive there, which has been opened. ES10, about 10% complete. This project is on schedule. Concrete footings are underway. Actually, spread footings have been poured. They're going to start pouring half of Section A next week. Site utilities are ongoing. Retaining walls are ongoing. This project is moving along at a pretty rapid rate. And so I think some of you were out there for groundbreaking, but that's an aerial of the campus footprint along with the parking area. This is a view from the west end, looking from where the developer's amenity center will be, looking back towards our retaining wall, or the start of our retaining wall. Any questions about the projects?
So, whoa, living a block away from me now, I was talking to Dr. Lee. I love driving by there. I mean, I do. It was great today. I drove by there purposefully like twice, seeing the kids play in the playground. I loved it. It's just a different view of the whole downtown, so anyway, it's great. I love it.
Yep. Bartley Cock did an outstanding job on that project. They're great partners. Any other questions?
I guess just a comment also, Lee took me to, Mr. Raspberry took me on a tour of, because I'm visual, and we did spend a couple of hours touring all this construction, because beforehand, before the meetings, you would show me these pictures and I really would not have a clue. Now I can actually relate, and Josh, I agree, it's amazing to pass these schools and just see the pride that I think the district now has shown the teachers and the support and the students most of all. So I think it's just great, and I thank you for the tour, and it was awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, well,
Thank you, Lee. Appreciate it. Next, we'll move on to our consent agenda. Item R on our consent agenda, we are going to pull and table until next month. And item X, consider acceptance of a donation from TCS Mechanical and DeWalt to support the career technical education programs within Bastrop ISD. I just wanted to speak to that for a minute because I did get to go out to the actual day that TCS Mechanical and DeWalt presented gifts to the students that were in the internship program, and then they're also making the donation to the school. And it's just an outstanding community partnership with TCS Mechanical. I wanted to point that out again. DeWalt stepping up, matching what TCS is doing, was just incredible. So Bastrop ISD is really getting the benefit of these partnerships we have in our community, and want to point that out. With that being said, is there anything from the other consent agenda items that the board member would like to discuss?
Yes, I'm sorry, I jumped at it. Mike, on item 9, establishing that new investment pool accounts with Texas class. I mean, little research, the account has been in existence for a while. What's the difference? Why are we shifting funds? Or not, is it shifting all the funds or just the bonds and some of the scholarships that we had in the package?
No, not all of our funds. We typically have primarily used Lone Star Investment Pool and Tex Pool. If I'm being honest, Tex Pool has moved to a new platform, and it's been a rough transition. So we started considering other options at that point. There's plenty of pools. Texas Class is probably the next biggest. And honestly, they've done a great job, developing a relationship with us. And I just felt a lot of confidence moving forward with them as an option, right? So we would probably split the difference there between Lone Star and Texas Class like we do now. So, yes, ma'am.
Any other agenda items to discuss? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Been moved and second, we approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next, we'll move into our action items, where we will consider approval of a staff development waiver. Our presenter is Kendra Monk, Director of Leadership Development and School Improvement. Welcome.
Evening, Dr. Lee and board members. Tonight, we're going to look to approve the staff development waivers for 26-27 school year. So House Bill 2442 says that our school minutes are set at least 75,600, and our calendar always has at least that or more. This year we have more than required. But we also get to have the ability to apply for a staff development minutes waiver to provide a maximum of 2,100 total waiver minutes to be used. And we've used those in the past to provide professional development days, but also to have a piece in place in case there's a weather event or some type of event where a school gets shut down. We're able to still claim some ADA in those situations. So for the 26-27 school year, we don't need the waiver to address the professional development days, but we'd like to ensure that we have the option to use the waiver in case of a school delay or late start due to weather or other catastrophic events. So we recommend the approval of the staff development minutes waiver as presented.
I move to approve, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Do we have any questions?
We are very efficient in getting this done tonight, so please.
I move to approve the staff development waiver as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second we approve the staff development waiver as presented. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next is to consider approval of amendment to the 26-27 Child Nutrition and General Fund budgets. Our presenter is once again Mike White, our Chief Financial Officer.
Thank you, sir. Don't have a presentation per se, but what I did want to do is highlight the budget amendment tonight. It's a little bit more involved than normal. That's why it's not just, normally it's in the consent agenda. It's pretty procedural. This one had the biggest change really, and we touched upon it in the early part, earlier in the year when we had to adopt the budget. At that point, we don't know what certified values are going to be. We don't know what tax collections are going to be, right? So that balance between coming back and adjusting the local versus the state revenue is really the critical thing here. And it's actually the accuracy of that relationship in your budget is now a new indicator in the first rating. So we're just trying to tidy up a little bit more as we go along. Typically, sometimes it's easy to kick the can down the road and amend the budget later, and I'm trying to get out ahead of that and do some housekeeping. Of course, now in August, we know how last year more or less settled out in terms of expenditures by function, revenue, and so now I can make some adjustments there. In terms of a few things, utilities are tracking a little higher as we roll out all this square footage and as rates kind of go up. We talked about inflation a little bit. We don't always have all that information in the budget process, but a little bit of wiggle room there. Those are probably the highlights. Most of it's actually moving from one function to another. So with that, I guess I'll open it up to any questions. Oh, the food service. You'll notice though that's simply changing the function. Now that we have that position, that technician, that's technically supposed to be coded a little bit different. So we caught that after the original budget. So we thought, you know what, let's go ahead and make those adjustments now and move that to function 51. So again, pretty procedural. But now I'll open it up to any questions you might have. I'm trying to be super efficient too, sir.
We appreciate that, Mr. White.
Do I have a motion? Just kidding. Just kidding. It's too far.
Too soon.
Too soon. Sorry, sir.
Would anybody like to make a motion?
I move to approve the amendment to the 2026-27 Child Nutrition and General Fund budget as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the amendment to the Nutrition and General Fund budget as presented. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. White. Next, we'll discuss and consider adoption of revised team operating procedures. The presenter is me. So tonight, we're considering the adoption of our revised team operating procedures. The purpose of these procedures is straightforward and to establish a common understanding among the 7 trustees and our superintendent about how we operate together as a team of 8. These procedures do not replace state law or board policy, and they do not dictate how any trustee should think or vote. Instead, they establish our working agreements for how we govern, communicate, conduct meetings, interact with the superintendent and staff, and handle disagreements. The revisions also modernize our procedures in several important areas, and they reinforce the distinction between governance and administration, clarifying that individual trustees do not independently direct district operations and establish expectations for board and superintendent communications. And they also address today's communication environment, including email, text messaging, group communications, and social media, with particular attention to the Texas Open Meetings Act. Most importantly, these procedures are intended to help us operate effectively even when we disagree, because good governance does not require 7 trustees to think alike. It requires us to respect our roles, deliberate openly, and treat one another professionally, make decisions, and continue working together on behalf of our students. So I believe the question for us tonight, do these procedures, which we've all been provided in our board packet, provide the framework we need to govern effectively, transparently, and professionally as a team of 8? And with that, I'll open it up for board discussion for either revised team operating procedures and/or a motion.
The only issue I see is on page 6, there's just a grammatical thing. Other than that, I like what I see. I like the changes that are made. I understand us wanting to be, I especially like the professional standards of conduct that were included and the commitments as well as a board. So,
Dr. Mix, where was that? So we could note
At the
it.
top of page 6, there's just a blank. It says section.
Oh, that
Just
was
move.
only because it'll reference like what the section number or page number is, and that would be dependent if
Oh.
you guys removed things, so
I
it was
gotcha.
just left blank until we figure out what page is what in the final draft.
Perfect. Thank you. Then I'm good.
Thank you.
I just want to make a comment, just saying, I think that whole process of doing this together was really good for us all to kind of go back and look at some of these procedures and update them as needed. So it's more of a comment than anything else.
Any other discussion or questions concerning the board operating procedures? I will move to approve and adopt the revised team operating procedures as presented.
A second?
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next, we'll consider the endorsement of a nominated individual for position on the TASB Board of Directors. Again, I am your presenter. In our board packet, I believe there were 3 or 4 people that have indicated a indication or a likelihood that they would like to serve on the TASB Board of Directors. I will open it up for discussion about, or motion to be made for any interested board member concerning these individuals that have submitted their resumes to us and letter of interest.
Are we supposed to endorse 1, 3,
So-
excuse me, all of them?
So you can endorse none, or you could endorse, you should select one, because you're endorsing one particular candidate to move forward. So you have information on, I believe it's 3. And so, having looked at their packets, it's really up to you all. This is not something that administration makes a recommendation for you to. It's really just your choice. If you happen to know any of the 3 or have a relationship with them in any capacity or know of them, then you can choose to make an endorsement.
Ms. Ruiz, with your extensive hours that you gained above everyone.
She is a master trustee, after all.
Well, that's why I'm asking if
Flip
she
the
has,
lid.
if she has an opinion, or was she able to meet any of these 3 people?
I was not,
Oh,
sadly.
okay.
I didn't get to know any of the folks,
Okay.
so I couldn't say intelligently one way or the other. Now, if my name was there, I'd say me.
Something to look forward to, I believe. Well, I will move to endorse the candidacy of Mackey, who's on for the TASB Board of Directors. He was number 2 on the list. I appreciated his resume and his thoughts and his letter. So if somebody likes that one or wants to second it, that's fine. If not, we'll move on.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next, we'll move on to our information items, the Board of Trustees calendar of events, single budget to purchase more than $50,000, and our revised board policy, BE local, or for information only. The time is now 7:24, and the board will now convene in closed meeting session to discuss the following items as allowed by the Texas Government Code 551.071, attorney consultation, and 551.074, personnel matters. No voting will take place in the closed meeting. Any action the board wishes to take as a result of discussions in the closed sessions will take place after the board reconvenes in open meeting. I'm gonna go to the restroom. Yeah, I'm gonna be back in the.
You know, I'm glad the principals weren't made to come to this.
Yeah, first day of school.
I was worried about that. You heard me, Dr. Lee? I'm just,
The time is now 7:49, and we will reconvene in open session. I will entertain a motion.
Approve the amendment of resolution to declare a good cause exception for HB3 as presented.
second.
It's been moved and seconded, and we approve the amendment of resolution to declare a good cause exception for HB3 as presented. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. With that, no further business. I move to adjourn this meeting. Meeting is adjourned.